All right, let's jump into it. Where are we at? 7 to 11. So getting slightly underway. We'll see if we get a bit of that volume in a couple of minutes. Might have to sort of pause the little recording as that comes through, but gives it a chance to have a little bit of look at sort of what happened overnight. And of course, we had US retail sales out, and oh my God, wow, what a reaction! Look at this from DXY, just that flew up. That's on a 4 hour counter. You can see it. I mean, you could go down onto like let's put on like even a small little 3 minute candle. Look at this. It just hammered off that bar there. So get back onto something a little bit more on size here. So look, retail sales came in big beat to the top side. So, despite everybody crying poor and sort of saying, the cost of living and money's down and all this kind of stuff, they're still out there spending. So, you know what I mean? While sort of like, it's amazing how these things change because, a week ago everyone was sort of crying, calling for you know, recessions, end of, this is the worst. And look, those sell downs were incredibly bad, but they were sort of talking like it was a new GFC, Black Mondays, like these kind of things. And again, yes, the sell downs were pretty hectic, but you know what I mean? The thing is, the state of the economy is not as bad as these people start to sort of make it out to be. And if you look at the headlines and that, people calling for like emergency cuts in between sessions, which is just stupid basically, and it's not going to happen. It was never going to happen. But they pump out these headlines, and the market reacts like a little schoolgirl, and it's crazy. And then we get this data this way, and bang, moves up in the other direction. So look, prior to this data coming out, I was mainly sort of more positioned for, like probably a lot of the market was, for a potential breakdown to the bottom side here. Slight little different thing from the bits of news we've had this week. Okay, so over here was where we had CPI already moving down prior to the news. We saw it, boom, 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 rejection moved up. This was very flat coming into the news. And you can see here, actually was talking to a mate and I was saying, look, this does potentially, if this goes out to the top side here, is positioned for an inverted head and shoulders, hence this little measured move that I had sort of marked out over here. And, as I said, I didn't think the reaction would be that strong and that sort of quick with it all. But it is what it is, and yeah, that certainly sort of flew up there, and it just hammered the rest of the market because we had gold that had spent the whole day recovering, undid the whole day of a grind back up within, I don't know, 10 minutes, half an hour, something like this. It was a very, very quick sort of sell down with that. And then sort of like, same with silver and Aussie sort of came off, like these sort of things. But then we had some incredible sort of V-shaped recoveries as well. So the price action was incredible. Like I was in and out of a whole bunch of trades and that, and I actually sort of took off a lot of my silver prior to the news, mainly because like I tell people I've got trust issues with these things because although it looks great and technically, yes, we're breaking out. Like we'll get onto silver in a moment because we're out of the channel. We beat the horizontal highs, so we've got a couple of reasons to be going higher and higher. As I thought, it sold down, and I took profit well. I got back in lower. I took profit again, and I've left some runners, just to sort of see if it can actually ring true because as I said, I'll get to it in a moment, they're all consolidating the highs of their bounces. So I don't think, as much as sort of like, the reaction was incredibly strong moving up through here, I don't think that the sort of reaction, I don't think a couple of strong retail figures is going to be enough to sort of sway the Fed as to whether they're going to cut or not. I mean, the new sort of talking point into which I mean, you take it with a grain of salt is now, well, they're definitely going to cut, and the question is, are they going to cut 50 or 25? And then you have this reaction, and then go, oh, 50 is now definitely off the table. Like, you know what I mean? It changes every 5 minutes. So, you take it with a grain of salt and that, you sort of use these things as to sort of work out and determine how is the market positioned. And you can certainly see that sort of like, these fast reactions like this, the market was positioned opposite to this. Expectations were, I don't know, if I click across, I've got it up here somewhere, didn't I? Let's put it over here. So we can flick back and forward. So last night, that was unemployment change. And here we go here. So, it was revised down previously. It was expected, it was revised down from zero. So zero to tick up to 0.4, and it came in at 1%. So look, it was already positioned to go up a little bit, but not that much. And you can see it's quite a considerable beat on a few of these pieces. So if we jump back onto what we're talking about, you can see that the market obviously sort of unwound their positions very quickly. But again, this was exactly where we had the arrow to sort of say that if it's going to move up, this is where the sellers are. We've seen it time and time and time and time again. So that we know that this is a very strong level. So despite whatever kind of news they're coming up with, it tipped into this. And as you can see, it only came into it by like a point or two and bang, sold back down. And this is what gave us our strong V-shaped recoveries on silver and gold and copper. Copper actually took off. Copper didn't care. Copper just went to new highs, up a couple of hundred points. So now we've got to sort of think sort of where to from here. So, you know what I mean? Like, as you can see, came down, bounced, moved back up. It hit about the 50% retracement of this little move coming up through here. For some reason, it's not updated on this chart. I'm not sure why. But we are finding ourselves a little zone through here now. I would say here and no, look, I'm still going to say this top end up here. This is just such a big area that, in the immediate, let's call it that. Like I wouldn't even typically I would put it here at the body because you'd say, look, a close outside the body would be like a sort of a range break there. But you've just got such a strong resistance with so many different little levels along here. I would want to see a close above that because that would close above that will be able to sort of tackle these ones as well. So in the short term, there are little zones. We could also drag down a little one here because we're finding a little bit of resistance as this bounce came up through here. So there are your three levels, the top and the bottom as to sort of whether we're going to get the direction of it all. But I think, potentially we could see a move back down over here and a bounce through here. I'm not expecting a great deal today, to tell you the truth. I did say that yesterday, and we had quite a sort of strong grind the whole day. But yeah, we'll have to sort of see how we go. We've got 11 o'clock ticking over now, so we'll see if we see a little bit of sort of volume come into the market. We're seeing metals take a little bit of a sell as that does open up. All right. So speaking of which, we got silver. And look at this. There we go. Hit our price target. Bang, right in here. And what did it do? Sold off. Though, this is what I was on the other day. You want to sort of see it come back down, like I've said over here, but the same sort of thing. You want to see buyers, as they have, step right up here. And this is what they're doing. So this is why I had, look, obviously I had it sort of as a breakout from this point. It came down here yesterday and I said, look, this is our little consolidation box, and it grinded up the whole day, came down after the news, like it broke out first, came back down, broke up again. And now it's just consolidating the highs of this zone. So let's clean it up a little bit. So we can see that's the course we were looking for. And you know what? We pretty much got it. Tapped right into price target. We took profit. Well, I took profit yesterday. Got back in down here. Got back out over here. We got some runners. So what we want to see in the short term now, let's get rid of this for now, is a little break. And we've got some buyers that are sitting here. We got some sellers that we know are sitting here, which is the higher time frame selling. So again, this is a great example. I do the same thing. This is where the sellers were. This is where the sellers were again. It's not rocket science with it all. So what we want to see is a depletion of sellers at this level over here. We've got a good sort of push through here. The fact that we consolidated up near the highs means that, you know what, people aren't necessarily taking profit straight away. They're not sort of going, oh, look, it's a big chance to break out and boom, come back down here. Again, anything can happen, particularly with range breaks like this. You can always get a back test of a sort of just side over here. So what we want to sort of see at the moment is a little break of this range, so above, sort of 28.50 for continuation for the next leg. And then again, once we can overcome this, like really technically you want to get over this high over here of 28.67, then you're looking up at the next price target, which is up over here. So again, this is where the sellers were. This is where we expect sellers to be again. That's why we put our price target there. That's why we take some profit on those points. Good on anybody that sort of buys down here and holds and does it all the way through and that. Like, when I'll generally have some little runners, but as I said yesterday, sort of through this moment here, we moved up here. I can't remember where I was, around here or something. I sold, and I've sort of put my buys back in down here at the break level and overshot that a little bit, but then it came back up, came back down again, came back up. It was a very hectic sort of lot of price action around last night, and yeah, I expect a little bit of that to sort of to whittle through to today. We'll have to sort of say again, this is why we make our little ranges so we can see which direction it wants to go, because it's just consolidating the break here. But certainly the fact that we've come out of this channel is a very bullish kind of sign. We can start to draw up a couple of new lines here and sort of say, okay, if this were to be, maybe this could be a bit of a channel. It does line up a little bit with this. It doesn't bode very well for a new break up here, to tell you the truth. But we've got to wait and see what happens with DXY. First price target was taken out though. Very good. All right, moving on. We got gold, and gold just refuses to die, as you can see. Here was the breakdown yesterday. This is me trying to work out if it was to break, where would it go? Not too much. I don't really like that one. I'm going to get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of these ones. Get rid of these ones. And boom. So we found that 60 is the line to beat here, because obviously it held a number of times through here. Well, you see buyers holding 60, holding 60, holding 60. As it went through the other night after CPI, bounced back up, retested, and then went down. And this is the switch where it had gone from being support to being resistant. Cut through it, retested, bang. Coming through yesterday, you can see first attempt, rejected down a little bit. But this candle here, as it actually went through, this actually took off. And so that was a nice sort of, okay, bang, we're back on top of it. Obviously, then we had the news, cut through it again, coming back up, and we're back trying to prove ourselves to get over the top of it. So this is really the swing point at the moment. Above 2460, we're in the game for, to sort of still tackle the 2470s, 2480s. But if you reject from this point over here, well, then, you're looking back down to, realistically, this seems to be a fairly decent area to sort of call out where the buyers are. Not necessarily the buyers are just directly there. Let's call it buyers, whatever. No, I don't like it. It's too dark. Zone, bang, whatever. We can see, as I said, look, it's overshot this, but the candles have always managed to close up above here. So this level here, this level here, this level here. So I would say in the short term, if you break below, it's hard to sort of call some of these sometimes, but I would say if we put a little zone in around here, just to be on the safe side. So I'd say under 52, maybe call it 50 to be a sort of round number. You'd be looking down at 2440 again. Top side of this would be, as I said, pretty much above 60. So similar to, move these up a little bit, similar to what we saw with silver, you had your sell down and a V shape, and it's just consolidating the bounce. So this bodes well because you're sort of thinking, well, it hasn't sort of gone down structure-wise, hasn't gone down, up, and then gone to go for a new down. It's gone down, up, and it's just held here. So you know what I mean. This now becomes the part of the pattern that we're looking at. We're looking at this. And so you think, how did it come into this part? Well, it came in as a bullish. So this would lead to the side of a break, to the top side there. In the way, the general way that sort of price structure would happen here. So we've gone down, we've come up, we've gone down again, we've held, moving back up. I would say you've got a higher chance of this breaking to the top side here. And we'll sort of see, again, look, if DXY sort of plays with the lows and plays with sort of selling down a little bit more, then we are going to see a little bit of a push up in metals. Eventually, these things will break. And look, you could go either way with it all, but we are sort of going to see eventually that they just sort of go, nah, enough's enough. And they either run all the stops up the top, because remember, there's got to be a lot of stops up here. So even if things are going to go down, you'd be very surprised that they just leave all this liquidity up here. there's a lot of short positions through a long time, all the way through here, have got juicy stops up here, which they can just take out. And so, like we saw last year, that really fast run up, it spiked. It ran like $70 in 15 minutes. That's that sort of massive stop run and blow off. It's got a blow off top, and you had the blow off top, and then it boom, it went down. It went down $150 or something from the peaks after that. So yeah, you'd be very surprised. Even if it is going to go down, it doesn't have a push to the top side first. So we'll have to sort of see how that plays out. The short here and now, below 52, above 60. I think that'll give us our direction. Onto Aussie. Still trying to sort of fight. It's a great recovery yesterday, actually. This was basically the jump back up off employment figures. Well, absolute shockers of I just can't believe that these people, I don't know who's putting this together, but if you have a look at what their predictions were, employment change here, to just be so drastically off almost every time, it's amazing, really. Like sort of so the employment change 52, yeah. So 52,000. Like last time was forecast for 20,000, came in at 52. That gets revised up to 50. Sorry, came in at 50.2, gets revised up to 52. That's fine, revisions, whatever. But again, like, oh no, it's definitely slowed down now. 20,000. And not only did they get it wrong, but they got the wrong direction as well. Like it wasn't even a decrease, it was a push up. So, look, it's interesting. And I think all this kind of thing shows that Aussie economy, they're still hiring. So, and this is all sort of textbook stuff okay, yep, they're hiring, they're taking on people. So we should see a bit of a push up because the economy can withstand, rates high for a little bit longer. It's obviously not affecting businesses that much because businesses are still hiring at an accelerated rate. So, you don't hire more staff in that when you're worried about whether you're going to be able to pay the electricity bill next week. You hire more staff when you're like, okay, things are going well and we're looking to expand and we can take on a little bit more risk, i.e. more employees. So if they're doing that, they don't need the government assistance. So the rates can stay a little bit higher for a little bit longer. And that's why you had such a strong reaction with the Aussie, which really, like it was coming down, it really sold down now. I was saying yesterday, 80s would have been great to get. And of course, overshot that by 20 points coming down to the bottom side. And that was prior to the news coming out. And bang, you can see the explosion came back up. So with the Aussie, really 40 has proven to be like a very strong roof for us here. Didn't quite get up to it yesterday with the recovery. Silver, copper, these kind of things, they hit the recovery. So, Aussie didn't. Sold down on the news, like everything did. V-shaped recovery, just in line with everything else. Sold down again into the end of the session. Bullock's just been talking this morning. This could be sort of affecting things a little bit. But again, look, realistically, DXY is I know Aussie's not part of DXY, but that what happens with the US dollar is the bigger driver than what Bullock has to say. You know what I mean? She adds to it all, but yeah. Anyway, so in the short, above 40 will trigger another wave of buying up here. The fact that it rejected so strongly from this sell down here, if people want to sell it, well, that was their option. It got hammered back up here. So you'd want to sort of see that, look, realistically, maybe the thing is now, because you've got all these levels, you've got so many levels of support here. You've got a level here, you've got this wick level here. Actually, let's just put this in here. I was saying the wick, which is obviously still a level as well, but you can see body closures here, came down here, tapped into it again, and pushing off again. RSI is set to support this move if this wants to go up. I would say this is the time. If you come up to 40 this time, I would say you've tapped it, you've tapped it, you've tapped it. The sellers managed to push it back down here. True, it was news-driven stuff, but if you can get up to 40 again, I would say that's the trigger, and we're going to see the upside move there then. So if we see DXY sort of sell back down to the lows, then really this is just another move. This is a big sort of like flush out. Look at where it came to. Flushed out all these lows here, 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 and then it sort of just fired back up into it all. So staying above 66 for the moment and 66.40 for the top side, that'll give us our direction. I think if you fail underneath 66 now, although you've got these levels here, I think you're just going to end up sort of doing a bit of a more or less a grind between 40 and 65, 60. But we'll have to sort of wait and see how this one sort of plays out. But again, as I said, above 40, I think, is the trigger for the next leg. Then we've got these levels up looking up here. Top side target of these ones, I think it was probably more this one here. So I'm going to put a little price target on this just so I can look back and go, yep, okay, that's where it was. But along this sort of thing, around the 80 zone here. And this is on a break of 40. So if you go here, 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 here. That's the kind of move that we're looking for. And whether this comes up to here, 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 so here, 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 whatever. It's just the idea that we get a break and a back test. Break and a back test. 66.80 is the next target for Aussie there. Cool. Flip across copper. Copper, as I said, absolutely shined yesterday. Look at this. It's just like this is the little range that we put out, and we said, look, you know what? Once you break this range, this is going to give us our direction, and it just took off and absolutely came up. And again, you know what I mean? I know I repeat the things over and over, but sellers have been here, sellers have been here, sellers have been here, sellers have been here, and where did it stop? That's where the sellers were. You know what I mean? It's a matter of just sort of going, okay, where is it? Boom, and there's going to be. This as well, I like because this is very typical, and this is why it's important to only trade a few things necessarily sometimes because you get to know them. Copper loves to do this. It'll build a nice little support range. It'll do this little breakout down here and then fire back up. So, you know, people might be going, okay, look, it's ready to come back down over here, and obviously just jams up a whole nother level. I mean, from yesterday's lows, did that run? That's 3% move yesterday from the lows. So yeah, very strong reaction for copper. And this is what I've been sort of saying from that since that negative divergence which I bought. This is one that I'm actually holding because it's too finicky to kind of day trade and that. So generally I wouldn't even look at it under a 4 hour. But this was the little reaction here. I was on a daily that we saw the negative divergence. As you can see, this last push came down here, and this is why we say negative divergence are one of our favorite reversals. But if you put it back on the 4 hour, you can see that, look, it's coming up testing these highs. We do have channel resistance coming up. So I would say still another leg up here. I reckon these ones over here are going to be the highs that are really going to sort of put a bit of a stop on things because we've got the horizontal, we've got the confluence. You know, at the moment here, it's just stopping in a bit of no man's land, which obviously it's shown it can do. But, you know, as we come up here, consolidate the highs, push through, I would say another, where's this going? Another 1.8% or so. I mean, as to whether how quickly it gets to there, well, yeah, so remain to be seen. But I would say, yeah, we've got another leg up to these highs over here. You know, one of these two zones over here. We can see the sellers are in this zone here, the very highs with this grey zone here, because then you got this big falling resistance. And that's going to be a big sort of point because we've seen the reaction every time it's come into contact with it. Sort of up here where it started, and then, you know, this whole series of it down here where it just butted heads with it over and over and then gave away. So coming back up here, I would assume that we're going to get a bit of a reaction there. So I'll take a little bit off as we come into this point. But as I said, so I still think that, look, potentially we do have a move coming back towards sort of 4,500 or so. But, you know, take it one level at a time. We're slowly moving through there. Okay, so, and finally, I think we'll just finish up with China. As you can see, China has come right back off that support, moved back up over here, finding resistance on the bottom side of this little triangle that we drew out the other day. So again, look, China likes to find a level and then grind. As you can see, it's done this for a long time, shake out, grind, up, grind. Like, it's not a big, fast moving thing. So it's not really one necessarily to be trading, certainly not intraday. But basically, it's 90% of the time, maybe 80% of the time, a good barometer for Aussie. but we have seen these large sell downs here recently, and the correlation between Aussie and China, well, the yuan, has become a little bit skewed. So that's why I've been glossing over it pretty quickly recently. Like I'll look at the price action as what's happening, because as I said, I think once we go down under here, we'll see things revert back to normal. But as it has been, we've seen quite a predominantly stronger yuan than the US dollar, but we're not seeing Aussie flying at its all-time, well, not all-time, but no, it's not flying at yearly highs yet. So yeah, it's the correlation's gone off a little bit with these ones at the moment. I would say you'd want to stay underneath 719, this high level over here. Um, but for the time being, I wouldn't be surprised if this finds some resistance and then sort of comes back down here and it makes something like this as a new sort of little consolidation box. Again, not too much to sort of report on that at the moment. One thing I'll finish off with is the gold silver ratio, because we did see quite a solid break of this yesterday. If you put it on the daily, it shows it very nicely. Again, with this, you want it to be moving down generally if you're sort of long on metals. As it's long on metals, silver is the place to be, percentage wise, with how it moves. But overall, as markets are moving in this direction coming down, you're going to see metals as a whole moving a bit stronger. We saw this yesterday with silver breaking out higher. I just showed you copper a second ago. Gold is very much sort of holding up the top up there. But the percentages of copper and silver, which are, remember, they're different metals. So, silver kind of falls into both camps. It's kind of a precious metal, but it's also used in like sort of manufacturing and all this kind of stuff as well. So it's not really, and then copper's on the other side of it all. The copper, like sort of those things where copper and silver are moving, well, that's a bit more sort of risk on because they're sort of used in manufacturing. Again, it's like anything. When people are confident, they're going to manufacture more. When they manufacture more, they're going to need the parts, they're sort of the inputs, the raw inputs, the silver, the copper, these kind of things. You're not doing that when you're scared about whether you're going to be able to keep the lights on next week. That's the time that you go, okay, well, let's bunker down. Let's hold on to our pennies right now. But that's obviously not what's happening. So as the demand goes up, so does the price. It's a very simple price and demand kind of thing. So supply and demand thing. So yeah, if this continues to sort of track down like this, I would say if we can get down underneath, well here, go under here, I would say that we're going to see a very fast move, and this will probably coincide with a break higher and maybe a breakout at the top of gold. So we'll have to sort of wait and see how this plays out. But certainly that's one thing to watch, particularly if you're trading metals. All right, in terms of news, I think we're pretty light on for the day. Where we at? Friday, coming down here. Yeah, nothing really super of note. Bullock, there we go. Yeah, Bullock speaking, as I said just before. Retail sales out of UK. Okay, that's tipped to go up a little bit. And if this sort of ticks up, you might see a weakening of DXY on this data as well. And then it's pretty quiet out to the rest of the week. So yeah, we'll sort of see how the rest of yesterday's price action sort of finishes off. But again, I'm looking pretty much sort of down on DXY. I think it's just a matter of time. So I just want to be positioned accordingly. All right, that's it for me.